Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Two Beans in a Pod. My name is Jose.
Your boy Jared here.
Back with another episode, and this week we wanted to focus more so on the NFL. Lately, we've had some NBA news, so free agency, the championships, the finals had just ended. But as we were ramping up for the NFL season, we wanted to start talking about more about NFL topics. Now, I know we have about a month out until the preseason, but as football fans, it's always fun and, a good chance to look forward to the next season. So we thought for this week, we would focus on our thoughts and opinions on the AFC conference. Next week we'll be doing the NFC, but for this week we're going to be doing the AFC conference. Starting up with the AFC East. So we're looking at teams like the New York Jets, the Miami Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Buffalo Bills. So just off the top of your head, what are your thoughts on the division and the state of what it looks like right now?
Well, the way I look at it, there are three teams that I consider playoff contenders. Those three teams are Buffalo, New England, and Miami. But with the Jets, though, they're still rebuilding. They're still a young team. They're trying to find an identity for them. Because keep in mind, last year it was their first season with having a new coach, Robert Saleh.
Yeah, who we know very well. He was a former defensive coordinator of the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah.
They came off of a season with only 4 wins. But like you mentioned, having a first-year quarterback like Zach Wilson and having to adjust to the new regime that they're dealing with. I do agree with you. I feel like the Jets are the only team where they're kind of an unknown.
Yeah.
You look at the Bills and the Dolphins and the Patriots, all teams that could definitely make the playoffs, and all teams that have made moves within the last year.
Okay, so to me, I think the best team in the AFC East would got to be the Buffalo, dude. Josh Allen, when I saw him, dude, in the playoffs, that dude was on a mission. Like, you could tell he was pissed, especially when we were facing the Chiefs. Like, he really wanted that. He really wanted to win, okay? Of course, we all know what happened. They came up short. It was a really good game, okay? And honestly, I kind of have the Bills going to the Super Bowl, actually, as an early prediction.
Oh, wow. So you're going to just jump in already, opening up with your prediction?
Well, no. I'm just grading every team, though. But I feel like, in my opinion, that's the team that's going to beat in the Super Bowl.
I agree. I feel like the Buffalo Bills, as a roster overall, they have a solid defense. They have formidable threats in, like, Stephon Diggs. They have Emmanuel Sanders still. They have Josh Allen, Singletary as a running back. They even added Von Miller on the defensive side.
Yeah.
I do think that they're one of the more stacked rosters in the league, but I just like adding a little bit more of intrigue and suspense when it comes to my Super Bowl pick. And you just went right out the gate saying that's the team you think.
That's just an early prediction, though, because injuries do play a huge factor in the league, though.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but we could have went through the whole thing and you saved it till later, but you went right into it. That's how confident you are as of right now.
Oh, yeah, right now. But it could change in the future, but that's my pick right now in the offseason right now, currently, okay?
Wow.
With the Patriots, I have them make it to the playoffs, but they're probably going to be a lower seed.
They're not going to win the division.
Well, yeah, they're not going to win the division.
I think that's safe to say. I don't think they're going to win the division.
In my opinion, they're barely going to make it to the playoffs, or they're going to be third seed in the division, okay? Because Miami, they look pretty good. Only problem is Tua. I don't know how he's going to be.
I don't buy Tua Tagovailoa. I have nothing against him. I just don't think that he has adjusted well to the NFL yet. They were able to trade for Tyreek Hill, the receiver out of Kansas City.
That was a huge steal, by the way. But they gave up a lot, but I think it was worth it, though.
Not only that, but they have been able to replenish their arsenal on offense. You got guys like Raheem Mostert, who, again, San Francisco 49ers, moved over there in free agency. I do think they have the potential. But when you have a team like Buffalo who has the best roster, when you have a team like the New England Patriots who have one of the best coaches of all time, I think Miami clearly is the third option, the third best option to win the division. I've yet to see Tua really adapt to the league in an efficient way. And you put him against Mac Jones, you put him against Josh Allen. I do think he is the weaker of the three, unfortunately.
And the way I look at it, chemistry. Buffalo, they got that chemistry.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The Patriots, they're still, they're so-and-so. They got the chemistry going. It's just Buffalo's like the team in the way.
Yeah. No, I think it's fair to say. I mean, you look at New England, they've been able to add wide receivers and assets of their own. I mean, they got Kendrick Bourne. They still have N'Keal Harry. They got Devontae Parker, who was also with Miami.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that under the Belichick scheme, they always find a way to stay relevant and stay competitive, just like how the Spurs are in the NBA. Maybe not as as recent years have shown, but when you have a great coach like Belichick, I think there's always a safe bet as to him making the playoffs.
Yeah.
So in that division, I think it's safe to say that we both agree the Bills should win it.
Yeah.
Barring any type of huge injury, which I wish injury upon nobody, I think it's safe to say the Bills should be able to run away with it. Last year they won the division with 11 wins, 1 win more than New England, who sneaked into the wild card round. I don't think it's going to be this close. I think Buffalo wins. I could definitely see them winning more than 12 games, to tell you the truth.
Yeah. So going into the AFC North, okay? So we got the Bengals, the Steelers, the Browns, and the Ravens, okay? I want to know what's your take on this.
I have always enjoyed the AFC North because I think it's one of the more intriguing divisions, at least in the AFC side, because you have history when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. Although the Cleveland Browns haven't had great history in recent years, they do still have that great rich history when it comes to Jim Brown, Paul Brown, and the rest of that organization.
And drama. Don't forget about drama. What's going on?
Well, yeah, no, and I was going to get to that. I'm glad you brought that up because, this week alone, the trade for Baker Mayfield, he's now with the Carolina Panthers. He's going to be their quarterback. The question is he going to be their starting quarterback? They traded a 5th-round pick for him, which is basically pocket change in the NFL. But on top of that, you look at who the Carolina Panthers currently have. They have Sam Darnold. Darnold and Baker Mayfield were both in the 2018 NFL Draft. Baker Mayfield was the first pick, and Sam Darnold was the 3rd overall pick, who went to the New York Jets that year.
Mm-hmm.
So to now have those two guys on the same roster, I think Baker gets the starting position, but you still have to wait and see. You have to give Darnold an opportunity to compete for that starting job, and to see where Cleveland goes from here. They still have Deshaun Watson on the roster. They still have to see how the whole litigation and issues go on about his allegations. Does he receive a suspension? If not, good for the Browns. They have a starting quarterback. If he does, where do they go from there? Do you go with a Teddy Brissett, who used to start for the Colts and the Miami Dolphins, who we mentioned earlier? Or do you sign elsewhere? Do you get another quarterback? They do have the cap room. I do think Cleveland Browns have a deep roster. They have a good defense. They have solid offensive weapons, but the quarterback situation, that's always the top of the to-do list when you're building a roster.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Anyone else on the division?
Oh, I can keep going. I mean, you look at Cincinnati Bengals. I would be remiss to not mention them. They're coming off of a Super Bowl loss against the LA Rams. We both watched that game, as I'm sure everybody watched that game who's a fan of the NFL. And a question that a lot of people have is, will they suffer a Super Bowl hangover? We've seen in recent years that whoever loses the Super Bowl tends to come back, and they want to come strong, and they want to vie for that spot again as the leader of their conference. But for some reason, injuries and just random incidents, that just don't go your way.
Oh, believe me, we should know.
We should know. We were we were in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, 54.
Yeah,
we lost, and the year after that, we suffered a bunch of injuries. I look at the Bengals, and I think, okay, Joe Burrow, I think he's only going to get better.
Yeah.
They've been able to surround him with guys like Jamar Chase.
Mm-hmm.
They're now giving him a better offensive line, which was definitely an issue that they faced last year. Instead of drafting an offensive lineman, they went with Jamar Chase, which a lot of people questioned last year in the draft. And it proved to be, it didn't matter. They went to the Super Bowl. So I look at the Bengals, and I think, hey, they could still make some noise, but I think about that Super Bowl hangover. Is it going to be an aspect?
Honestly, I think Jamar Chase is going to have the sophomore slump.
You think?
I think he is. Just for this year. But I feel like come year 3 for him, I think he's just going to stride and just take over.
It's going to be real interesting to see. I mean, Jamar Chase had a hell of a year, a hell of a rookie year, that is.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he almost had 1,500 yards receiving. The touchdown productivity was there. I mean, he caught, 13 touchdowns that year. He was the offensive rookie of the year, by far. The only guy that really put up a fight was like Mac Jones, but Jamar Chase is the one that walked out with it. And then I look at a team like the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, their quarterback that they've had for almost 20 years, Ben Roethlisberger, retires.
Mm-hmm.
They now have 3 options to go with that quarterback now. You have a guy like Mason Rudolph, who has been there. He knows the system. He knows the coaching. He knows the roster. Or do you go with a guy like Mitch Trubisky, who, relatively young still, has a little bit more experience than Mason Rudolph, but it's his first year with the team. And then you look at Kenny Pickett, the rookie out of the University of Pittsburgh, hometown hero for that Pittsburgh town. But do they go with youth, or do they have him sit down on the bench and learn from guys like Trubisky and Mason Rudolph? Anytime I see a team that has a solid defense, I'm going to give them a chance.
Yeah.
You look at some of the names they have. They have a T.J. Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, Cameron Hayward. Sometimes the best defense is the best offense. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
With that in mind, let's go to their rivals, the Baltimore Ravens. Now I know you feel a certain way about Lamar Jackson. I think it cannot be understated. He's a tremendous athlete.
Yeah.
The one issue he has had is the passing game. He can run the ball, but passing the ball has always been an issue in terms of his accuracy. He has an arm, but it's the accuracy. And they trade away one of their best, offensive weapons in Hollywood Brown. He's now with the Arizona Cardinals. And they lose Sammy Watkins to the Green Bay Packers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested to see what Baltimore looks like,
Yeah, like I've honestly, I feel like in the AFC North, I got the Bengals winning it. If not, probably Baltimore.
Yeah, no, I think that's a solid assumption.
Because with the Browns and their situation, honestly, I think they're going to win third. And I think Pittsburgh, honestly, I got them being last.
Really?
Yeah. But then again, it just depends on the whole quarterback situation, though.
Yeah, no.
Because the defense could be great all they want, But to win the game, you have to score points, Not every defense is going to score a pick six or a scoop and score or all that stuff or get a safety and all that, It's really hard to do that. And I feel like for a good team, obviously you need a great defense, but you also need a good, consistent offense to score as well.
Yeah. No, you have to be able to win on all 3 phases of the game, whether that's special teams, offense, or defense. And I'm with you. I think Pittsburgh, their only question really is the quarterback. Who are they going to go with? Yeah. I personally believe they're going to go with Trubisky. Mm-hmm. I think that's the guy they're going to start with. But I think eventually they're going to transition into Kenny Pickett because you don't spend a first-round pick on a guy that you're not going to start eventually,
Yeah. But then again, I feel like Cleveland, they can also be last. Depends on the whole Deshaun Watson situation.
And then they still have Brissett, looming in the back, so we'll see. The interesting thing about the AFC North was last year, it was really close. Mm-hmm. Baltimore and Cleveland both had 8 wins. Pittsburgh had 9. And Cincinnati won the division with only 10 wins, which I think is relatively low for a division winner. Usually you see a team win like 11 or 12 games, and that results in a division title. But with 10 wins, they really just eked it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So moving on to the AFC South, and that's another interesting division because whereas the AFC North is kind of more competitive, I feel like the AFC South isn't really that competitive. You have teams like Jacksonville and Houston who have been perennial bottom of the league teams. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to say dumpster fire, but Jacksonville and their struggles, they have Trevor Lawrence as their starting quarterback. They bring in Urban Meyer as his first head coach. And we all know what happened with Urban Meyer. That I think that's safe to say it was a dumpster fire. That did not work. He was not able to translate from a college coaching aspect into the NFL. Mm-hmm. He wasn't able to connect with his players. And once you lose your locker room, it's tough for a leader to be taken serious, you know? So I look at Jacksonville, who had 3 wins last year. I think they're going to be the bottom of the AFC South, excuse me. I think that Houston is going to improve. They have Davis Mills returning in his second year, which was surprising. Nobody talked about Davis Mills that well, that much. He did play well. Not as well as a guy like Mac Jones or maybe even Justin Fields, but he did put up solid numbers. Although with only 4 wins, I think Houston kind of tends to grow. The 2 teams we got to look at, though, are the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. And what is the one thing those 2 teams have in common?
They got good running backs.
They got excellent running backs. We're looking at guys like Jonathan Taylor, who plays for the Colts, And Tennessee, they got King Henry. Derrick Henry, who I think is one of the strongest, one of the best running backs that I've seen, at least. Last year, Tennessee won the division with 12 wins. Indianapolis fell short of 9, did not make the playoffs. Who do you think, out of those two teams, walks out of the division as the division winner?
I got Indianapolis.
Okay.
The reason why is because lately I feel like the Titans, everyone's been like going crazy for the Titans, okay, and how they're doing and everything. But I just feel like Indianapolis, I feel like they're going to be the dark horse from that division and coming up a little bit. I feel like just don't underestimate Jonathan Taylor. I feel like he has stuff. I don't know the correct words to say, but all I know is I think he's going to have a breakout year.
I feel like last year might have been his breakout year, but to piggyback off of what you were trying to say there, I feel like he's going to have something to prove.
Yeah.
Last year he was in contention for the MVP award. Didn't get it, and that's fine. But knowing how well he played last year, and they weren't able to make the playoffs, that eats at a player, at any athlete. For someone to put in their best efforts and still not get the results that they wish for, it stays with you. You get that chip on your shoulder. Some people would, contribute that to the quarterback issue that they had. They had Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
They no longer have him now. It's really stuck between Nick Foles and Matt Ryan. Who are they going to go with? Both veterans. Both have played in the Super Bowl. Only one had won, and that was Nick Foles. I do think they go with Matt Ryan, though. He has more experience. He's more consistent, if you will.
Yeah.
So to have a guy like him leading the offense, and you bring back Jonathan Taylor, heck, they still have Phillip Lindsay. The defense I still think is solid, especially with a guy like Darius Leonard. I agree with you. And you're going to see a trend here. We tend to agree on a lot because I feel like we have a like-minded mindset.
Yeah.
I do think that the Colts win the division this year. I like the Colts, don't get me wrong. But we even talked about this before we started recording. We just realized they were the number 1 seed last year.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody really talks about that. Everyone talks about, the Kansas Cities, the Buffaloes, the Cincinnati Bengals. But the Tennessee Titans, and keep this in mind now that we're talking about it, Derrick Henry missed, a third of the year because of an injury? And again, they still managed to get that number 1 seed.
See, and here's the thing that worries me, though, okay? If you realize, there's always a trend with running backs that have great years.
Mm-hmm.
They're good for 2 to 3 years, maybe even 4 if they're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
But once they get hurt, they're never the same. A great example, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey, he got drafted in 2017, and he had 2 great years.
Yeah.
One of which he was, again, up for MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Since coming back, he's still, serviceable. He's still good.
But he's starting to get hurt now.
But it's not like what it was before.
Another one is Todd Gurley.
Oh, Todd Gurley, once he started having his knee issues, that was a wrap.
Yeah.
You saw how quick the Rams had to move away from Todd Gurley.
Yeah. And I feel like Derrick Henry, he might be the next, unfortunately. And I like Derrick Henry, especially his stiff arms.
Well, look at this. So he was drafted in 2016.
Yeah.
In 2016, he had 500 yards.
Mm-hmm.
The year after that, over 700.
Mm-hmm.
Then after that, we get to 2018 where he has over 1,000. After that, it's followed by 1,500. Last season, over 2,000. And then the past season that we just finished, over 900. Again, because he missed half of the year. So is this the beginning of the decline for Derrick Henry? I hope not.
I hope not either.
But it's like you mentioned, running backs tend to have these great, 2 to 3, maybe 4 if lucky, runs in their career. And he has 3 excellent campaigns when it comes to 2018, 19, and 20.
Yeah.
But is this the beginning of the end? I hope not, like I mentioned. I'm a fan of Derrick Henry, and I do think that's something to watch out for. And who knows? Maybe there's a new king in town. Maybe Jonathan Taylor takes over that crown that Derrick Henry has held for so long.
Mm-hmm.
We look over to the final AFC division, and that is the AFC West. This is the division to watch out for.
Yeah.
If it's not the Bills, I think this division has one of the better chances of reaching, the Super Bowl or getting far in the playoffs.
Honestly, in my opinion, anyone could take this.
This is really interesting. Kansas City, of course, is Kansas City.
But then again, they lost Tyreek Hill, though.
They did. No, and that's a great point. They restructured their offensive line, so we're thinking Pat Mahomes is still going to be able to add that productivity that he's been able to in the last few seasons. But you take away a solid weapon and speed like Tyreek Hill, it's going to change the way they play.
Mm-hmm.
They still have guys like Travis Kelce on the team. They have Edwards-Helaire, and I do think that the Chiefs are still going to be a force in the AFC. But I don't think it's going to be a foregone conclusion like it's been in the past, where everyone's like, oh, the Chiefs, the Chiefs. No, not this time. Because you look at the Raiders, Derek Carr's not a bad quarterback. He doesn't get a lot of love. But Derek Carr is, a serviceable quarterback who will get the job done. I mean, you look at the games he had against the Chargers last year and the duels he had with Herbert.
Yeah.
But what's the main difference about the Raiders this year?
What is that?
They got Davante Adams,
Yep.
the best receiver, in my opinion, the best receiver in the game today. So to see them reload, you look at last year, the Chiefs walk out with 12 wins, winning the division. The Raiders were right behind them, 10 wins.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking Davante Adams easily makes big enough of a difference to at least tie with the Chiefs. And like you mentioned, the Chiefs regressed. They lose Tyreek Hill, but the Raiders gain Davante Adams. That's a huge swing in my opinion.
Yeah.
But then you want to talk about rosters. And we talked about this the other day. CBS had listed all the NFL teams and what their ranking was in terms of the best rosters. And number 1 was Buffalo. But number 2 was the LA Chargers. Talk to me about the Chargers. What are your thoughts on them?
That defense is going to be scary.
I agree.
Like, that defense, oh my God. You got Joey Bosa.
Uh-huh.
And, hold on, let me pull up the
I can help you out.
the roster. Yes, please, because I'm having internet.
Yeah, no, they got
problem.
Joey Bosa. One of the biggest, trades that was, I don't remember if it was a trade or a signing, but they got Khalil Mack.
Yeah, I almost forgot about that.
Very big from Chicago. Obviously, he played for the Raiders as well. But a linebacker of Khalil Mack's caliber, I mean, that only helps the defense. You can't tell me that the Chargers didn't make some moves.
Not only that, but they also have J.C. Jackson. That's another one.
Yeah, they picked him up from the Patriots, who I wanted. We always need secondary, help with the Niners, and J.C. Jackson's a guy I wanted. But the Chargers picked him up from the Patriots. Speaking of the Patriots, they have Kyle Van Noy, and they drafted Asante Samuel Jr. not too long ago.
Yeah.
Then you look at a guy like Derwin James Jr., who's a safety, has had his fair share of injuries, but when on the field, I mean, this guy, his resume really speaks for himself. In his 3 years, again, keep in mind, one of them, he was riddled with injuries. So let's take it to the 2 years he was healthy. 5 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles, and 6 sacks. That's not even talking about his total tackles, which are almost 300. Again, when healthy, Derwin James Jr. is one of the best safeties in the game. And then you look at the offense. We didn't even talk about the offense. Justin Herbert is going to be a star in this league, if not already. He's always talked about in terms of the who are the great young quarterbacks like Burrow, I drew a blank there for a moment. Josh Allen. Also, you look at the running back Austin Eckler, who I think is, again, another serviceable running back. I had him on my fantasy team a couple years in a row now. This guy can catch the ball and he can run the ball. And he's a consistent scorer for this offense. You bring back a veteran like Keenan Allen for the receiving core. And I do think that the Chargers are going to put up a fight in this division. I think I have them right behind Kansas City.
I do too, but then again, you also got Denver.
Denver has always had a consistently good defense.
Yeah.
The one thing they struggled with is finding a quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And they did that. They got Russell Wilson to start for the Denver Broncos. He was Mr. Seahawk, and now he's going to be riding with the Broncos. He's going to join guys like Melvin Gordon III. They got Jerry Jeudy and Tim Patrick as the receivers. Cortland Sutton, also a receiver there. I would be remiss to not mention him. The one thing about the Denver Broncos, though, is their secondary. And I feel like that's definitely a group that might rival a lot of other members of the secondary. I mean, you look at guys like Pat Surtain. They got K'Wan Williams, Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons. I mean, that's just to name a few of their more recognizable names.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm going to put them up in terms of contenders with the division, but I do think they're going to make it tougher than before.
Yeah, with me, I feel like they're just going to play a spoiler.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not this year. Maybe not next year. But year 3 for Wilson on the Broncos, I think they're going to be one of the top seeds in the conference.
I mean, I could see it being next year, to tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I mean, you look at 3 years down the line, Russell Wilson, he's gonna be 36.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that's old, because you look at a guy like Tom Brady, who just hit 44.
I don't know, man. That dude's just.
But it's like 36 is still kind of up there, especially for a guy who's as mobile as Russell Wilson. I applaud him for his ability to adapt. Not only has he learned to run the ball less, but run the ball more effectively. And what do I mean by effectively? It's where his mentality has always been, I'm going to pass the ball to my guys first. But if no one's available, I'm going to use my feet to either extend the play or to alter the play so that we're still able to gain positive yardage. So to see Russell Wilson in a new environment and in a new scheme, it's exciting. I can't wait for this NFL season. And just to recap real quick, so we both agree that the AFC North, who do you believe is going to walk out with that division?
Honestly, it's really tough. But
if you had to pick right now, obviously...
Just to play it safe, Kansas City.
No, the AFC North, I'm sorry.
Oh, AFC North.
Yeah, I'm going to go back over the teams.
Okay.
So the Bengals, the Browns, Ravens, Steelers.
You know, I'm going to go with Baltimore, actually.
I want to agree with you. If not Baltimore, because I do think Lamar Jackson's going to want to come back out swinging. They were bottom of the division with only 8 wins. I think they're going to want to come back and be strong.
Not only that, but I also feel like the Super Bowl hangover, dude.
Yeah, I love the Bengals.
That's the only thing.
I love the Bengals. I love Burrow. But, I'm sorry. I'm going to give them a year break. Come to me next year.
Yeah.
Come back to me next year and we'll see the Bengals. If not Baltimore, I think the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not overly confident with that because, again, I want to know who's for sure going to be the quarterback. But that defense, I feel like, is good enough.
Yeah.
Is good enough to carry them. In the AFC East, we both agree Buffalo.
Yeah.
I think that's easily the one team that in that division is going to win.
Mm-hmm.
We go to the AFC South. We both said the Colts.
Yep.
And now coming back to the AFC West. You said you were going to play it safe and you were going to pick who?
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs.
But I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers come into play or if the Raiders come into play.
Yeah.
I have the Broncos coming in last.
Yeah.
But they're still going to be close a little bit. They're going to be in the hunt for the playoffs.
And the thing about the playoffs, with the new system that they're running now with 3 wildcard teams, it's quite possible that a whole division could make, the playoffs.
Yeah.
I don't think it will. That's going to be very difficult to do. But if anyone can do it in terms of the AFC, I think it's the AFC West.
Yeah.
That team is probably the only team, as of right now, of course, that could see every team in the playoffs. And you pick you pick the Chiefs. I'm going to pick the Chargers as of right now. I think the Chiefs begin to regress. And I don't mean, in terms of like, oh, they're not making the playoffs. No, I think they'll make the wild card. But I think the Chargers, just like Buffalo, now have a deep enough roster and hungry enough stars where they're going to begin to turn the curve. They're going to turn the corner and now become a real threat in the AFC. So, really exciting. We're looking forward to next week where we're going to be discussing the NFC, which we're more familiar with since our team falls into the NFC.
Yeah.
It's a conference that definitely we always try to keep an eye on every year, especially in terms of movement or the playoffs, because it comes back and it revolves back to our team. Always fun talking about football with you. I know we had been talking about basketball for the majority of this podcast since its inception because the basketball season was still underway. But as we turn towards the NFL, we're going to be discussing more NFL topics, whether it is free agency, whether it's the preseason, or just the regular season in general. I can't wait for it because in the fall, we're going to have sports like the NFL and the NBA going simultaneously, so we'll have more content and more topics to discuss. Real quick, this is when we do the plugs. Go ahead. The floor is all yours.
All right, y'all. Y'all already know the drill. So, you can follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/sanfran5. Yeah, that's pretty lit. Currently playing Halo right now. I'm gonna do the legendary runs pretty soon. Also follow me on YouTube, SanFran5. I actually uploaded my first video. You should give that a look. It's pretty funny. Yeah, that's pretty much about it. TikTok if you want, SanFran5_ as well. And if you have Snapchat, you can follow me at broke_beaner445. If you didn't hear that and if you want it to sound more clearly, it's a broke_beaner445.
Again, I never get tired of hearing it. Just because, how old were you when you made that?
I was like 15.
Yeah, no, I mean that's always funny. I feel like everyone goes through that one phase where they create some kind of username and you come back to it years later and you're like, oh my god, like I made that.
Yeah, man, I'm about to be 21 and I haven't changed it ever since.
I say you don't. I mean, unless you go for like a professional account. But I mean, other than that, if that's
no, if I'm going for a professional account, I'm making a whole new account.
Yeah, no, I would keep that as my personal though.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty, and as for me, you can always find me at justjose_3 on all social media platforms. This podcast airs every Friday. Check out my YouTube channel, again, justjose_3, where I upload videos discussing different topics, whether it's the NFL or the NBA. By the time this releases, I will have a new video up concentrating on the NFC North. That'll be the Packers, the Vikings, the Bears, and the Lions. That's correct. Last week, check out that video. I had uploaded last week a video on the AFC North, which is the Bengals, the Browns, Steelers, and Ravens. I'm hoping to produce more content on YouTube. It's more fun for me. I mean, this is fun as well. But being able to edit the videos and add audio and video and combine the two, it really gives me another opportunity to expand creativity. So again, go ahead and follow us there. Again, looking forward to next week. We'll talk about the NFC. Thanks again, guys, for joining us on this week's episode of Two Beans in a Pod. And we will see you next week.
Man, I hate Seattle.
Yeah, me too.